Welcome to this JMC weekly webinar. It's June 27th, 2024, Navigating the Message Center, part of our new user series, also great for new schools joining JMC or folks that are new to a school. My name is Paul Freed. I have been with JMC for 20 years as a trainer. I live in beautiful Southeast Minnesota, the home office city of JMC, but now we are all over the country, including Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, Florida. So lots of folks all over the place, but I love living on my farm. We've got some goats and llamas. I sell kombucha in the summer, and I love visiting schools, working with schools. I'm joined by the one and only Greg Appleby. Greg, tell me a little bit about yourself and the team.
Hey, Paul, Greg Appleby. I'm a client service specialist with JMC. Been working for JMC. It's about my anniversary. Been with them about a year now. After retiring as a school administrator, 32 years in the state of Nebraska. I live in O'Neill, Nebraska, the Irish capital of Nebraska, and home of the world's largest shamrock. And glad to be working with JMC.
That's awesome. I did not know it was the world's largest painted shamrock. Is that true?
Absolutely. Well, that's our claim, and nobody has rebutted us yet.
That's awesome. Well, Lake City is the home to the birthplace of water skiing, so that's great. And I've been to O'Neill and I've seen the Shamrock, and it is large. So that's great. Let's get right into it, folks, as we go through here. All right. We like to simplify communication. Keeping families in the loop on open houses, start of the school events, and emergencies is key to student success and safety. The Message Center enables seamless delivery and understanding of your messages. Today, we share how easy it is to set up the Message Center. Do email and text to voice messaging, send messages in bulk, and run message status reports to ensure timely delivery of your messages. The full breakdown of material covered is how to set up the Message Center, tips for filtering recipients, choosing your message type or types, how to run a message status report, and automating calls about student absences. And, Greg, you can chime in if you want after I'm done here, but I'm not going to say this over and over again through the presentation, but I will tell you, successful schools communicate efficiently with their students, with their families, with their parents, with their guardians, and this is how you do it. I tell every school I go to that your superintendent, your principal, your president of your school, whoever the head person is, should be sending out a voice message or a recorded voice message once a month. It doesn't even matter what it is. That's how they build up relationships with the folks that are at your school. They're not going to meet maybe your president of your school, your principal, maybe even in a month or 2 or 6 months, but they can hear their voice talking about something that's important at your school. And this is how you tell the folks that go to your school what's important. We're having an open house. Our school went to state in bowling or academic all-stars, whatever it is. This is how you promote your school. It's how you keep people in the loop. And of course, if there's something important to send out, you're going to send it out. But what schools do, the mistake I think schools make, Greg, is they only use it for when there's weather-related items, and they should not do that. Your coaches, your advisors, your teachers should be sending out text messages. The office should use it. You don't want to overburden people. So again, you want to be thoughtful about what you do, but sending out those voice messages is just a great way to let people know what's going on at your school. Anything you want to add to that, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. I think it creates a great positivity and culture for your school system. Lets people, when people are informed, they appreciate it. And the best part is JMC makes it easy. So once you learn the Message Center, it's so easy to do. It's becomes secondhand.
And the last thing I'll say, and I don't mean this to pick on anybody, but my feeling is that typically the larger a school district, the worse they are at communicating. And with JMC, you don't need to be that way, right? If you've got 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 students, whatever it is, you can still be a great communicator. You just got to make sure that you make it a priority. All right, let's get right into it. Setting up the Message Center. And as you know, if you've been part of my items here, I will go through each step here. Sometimes I take a live look, sometimes I don't, but you can go back, watch this video again, slow it down, speed it up on YouTube, however you want to be able to do that. But we're going to make sure to take the time to talk about the most important things to help you move forward. All right, I'll take this, Greg, and then you can take the next section. All right, JMC's Message Center is a powerful tool that makes communication with staff, students, families, and activity groups a breeze. To ensure smooth communication, it's essential to set up 3 components: enabling mass email and sending, customizing phone dialer settings, and initializing contact phone numbers. I'm only gonna say this in this particular section. Somebody at your school needs to own the Message Center. Somebody needs to be in charge of it. That person doesn't have to send out all the messages. They don't have to be the person set up a schedule, that's irregardless, but somebody needs to say, I know how to set it up. I know where the settings are. So let's get into that. By following the step-by-step instructions, you can configure your SMTP server, login credentials, and send from email addresses, customize access codes, voice settings, and caller ID, and mark contact and student phone numbers to receive messages. Taking these steps will ensure effective and efficient communication with your families and students. So if you can follow along, you should be following along as we add in custom phone settings. Customize your phone dialer settings in JMC Office to enhance communication with families using the Message Center. With options to set the caller center access code, voice preferences for text to voice messages, and caller ID settings for each building, you can personalize your phone dialer experience. By customizing these settings, you can ensure that your messages are delivered effectively and recognized by recipients, avoiding any potential blocks or ignored calls. And I think the way I'm going to handle this, just so you know, Greg, I'm going to read all the instructions, and then I'm gonna make what I call my own helpful tips when we do the live look here. But I'm gonna keep my items to my comments to a minimum here, so folks know what they need to do.
Okay.
All right, you'll access your phone dialer settings by going to File Administrator Options in your JMC Office to tailor to tailor your communication approach. And we actually, when you go to File Administrator Options, you have to click on Phone Dialer Settings, just so you know. Step 1, select either man or woman in the default voice drop-down list to customize the voice option for text-to-voice message sent from the Message Center. And then, of course, click the Save button there. No need to make any changes to the account ID, authentication token, text-to-voice app ID, recording app ID, access code, or external app URL fields in JMC Office's phone dialer settings. Okay, these fields have already been configured by JMC Tech Support, guaranteeing that your phone dialer is set up correctly and ready to use without any additional adjustments. So that's all these things up here. You don't need to change any of those. You only can change your default voice. Step 3, click the Add Caller ID Number button under Caller ID settings to associate your school's phone number with outgoing calls from the Message Center there. Step 4, enter the main phone number in your school in the phone number field to display outgoing calls from the Message Center. Step 5, enter an extension in the extension field to associate with the displayed phone number. You want to do this. What happens is if you don't set up caller IDs here for each of your buildings, this is the phone number that will be used when that's sent out. So if I don't set up any caller ID, when the phone rings to your families, it's going to use the phone number, whatever your phone number is that's listed here. We like to see the school's phone number there because then they know which school it is, who it's coming from, and even which building as well. Step 6, click the Verify this phone number button to indicate a call from the phone service to verify the authenticity of the displayed phone number. Okay, helpful tip: to complete the caller ID setup process, be prepared to answer the phone call from the phone service at the location of the number listed in the phone number field. This step is important to verify the authenticity of the caller ID number and ensure its successful configuration for outgoing calls from the Message Center. So what's going to happen is I just want to make sure that I'm clear about this because I can't really show a live look. You're going to come in, put a phone number in here. If they've got an extension, like press 1 to get to the main office, or press 2, you'll put that extension there. You'll click verify this number. As soon as you do, it will look like this. Okay. And then what will happen is the phone will ring. So then we have step 7, which says enter the verification code listed in red using your phone's keypad to authenticate the caller ID number when prompted by the phone service. Step 8, click the verify button after entering the verification code to confirm the caller ID for outgoing calls. So then it will say it is verified. So you need to verify any numbers that you want at your school. Each building in JMC, okay, not your physical buildings, but each building can have its own caller ID. So you can have a district if you want. Everybody can have a district. You can have a high school building, elementary, middle school, whatever you have as your JMC buildings. They'll be listed down here as well. If you want to all have the same number, you sure can do that as well. It doesn't matter to us, but that's how you verify those phone numbers. Do you need to put in caller ID numbers here for the JMC Message Center to work? No, you can do it. It'll just look like it's coming from this phone number. But if you want to have a caller ID like it's coming from your school, put it in there and verify it there as well. It has to be a real phone number, can't be an IP phone number. If like you're a brand new charter school, something like that, it has to be a real phone number that you can pick up. So wait till you're at the school to be able to do that. Then once you've done that, once you've verified, then you can go to step 9. Step 9 is click the edit link next to a building in the building caller ID settings box to attach your verified caller ID number to a building in your school. This is my district here. It will only show numbers here that you've already verified. So step 10 is Select a verified caller ID number from the caller ID number drop-down list to select the caller ID number to be used for the building. Step 11, click the update link to save that ID, or you can cancel it if you want. Helpful tip, you can repeat the steps for the different buildings that you have here. It's pretty self-explanatory. So like I said, I'm going to jump in here. There's not too many tips to add in to this particular part, but it's under File to Administrator Options. You come down here to Phone Dialer Settings, right down here, Phone Dialer Settings. And if you've purchased the Message Center, this will all be set up for you, just like this. You can change the default voice to man or woman if you want to. And here's where you add a caller ID, put a phone number in here. When you verify this number, again, it's going to call you. You put the code in that's listed there. Once that's done, then you'll be able to come in here and add different phone numbers in here, and they'll be listed here as well. So these are different phone numbers that we've had. This actually is my home phone number in case you want to call me. But I had to use a real phone number, right, to test it out and learn how to do it the first time for myself there as well. So I encourage you to put your caller ID in there, especially if you've got multiple buildings. That way, if a phone call goes out from the elementary school, it'll look like it's coming from the elementary school. So when the family answers it, they know, oh, this is an elementary call or a high school call or the district as well. So great. Greg, anything you want to add to that, or did that hit off on me?
No, and mainly that's a thing that you do initially when you first set it up.
Yeah, if your school already has it.
You're not going to be in there a lot.
Yeah, if your school has it, you probably already have that set up. If not, then you can go ahead and set it up after you're done with this training. All right, I don't see any questions. If you have a question, type it in. We'll get to the next Q&A item, but this is of a longer presentation. So let's keep going. You want to read this part, Greg?
Sure will. We're going to initialize phone numbers to receive messages. Initializing contact phone numbers in JMC Office enables you to easily send calls and text messages to contacts, ensuring your important messages reach families effectively. With a few simple clicks, you can initialize primary contacts to receive emergency/weather-related messages and SMS text messages. It's a quick and straightforward process that allows you to start communicating with families efficiently. Find your phone settings. Head to File, Administrator Options in JMC Office to start initializing contact phone numbers. Step 1 is to click the Initialize Contact Phone Numbers link in the Phone Settings box to begin enabling contacts to receive messages. Step 2, click the Initialize Contact Phones ranked #1 button in the Emergency Weather-related box to enable primary contacts to receive emergency or weather-related messages. Step 3, click the Initialize Contact Phones ranked #2 button in the Emergency Weather-related box to enable emergency contacts to receive emergency or weather-related messages. To initialize SMS messages, step 4, you click the Initialize Student Cell Phones to enable students to receive emergency or weather-related messages. Step 5, click the Initialize Contact Phones Cell 1 in the SMS text message box to enable primary contacts to receive text messages. Step 6, click the Initialize Contact Phone Cell 2 in the text message box to enable emergency contacts to receive text messages.
You know, you could have saved us a lot of time. You could have said, click all the buttons.
I sure could, and that's exactly what you do. And so you
That's right.
confirm those updates. In step 7, initiate student cell phones buttons in the text message. Fun fact, after clicking each button to initialize the contacts or students, a confirmation message will appear indicating the number of contacts or students that have been successfully updated.
Great. So let's take a live look at that. And then I'll add my comments here. So I'm going to go back under the home. File, down to Administrator Options. You have to be a JMC administrator to access these screens. Initialize contact phone numbers. We went through them. You'll come here and click each one of these here. But the thing to note is you can't just go click, 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 click. You got to click, wait for it to run. There's one emergency. And here's another one. Here's another contact there. Here's a student. This will probably say 0, I think. Oh, 26. Look at that. We put some student cell phone numbers. So it's going to tell you. So wait for that number to be updated there before you move on there as well. So really easy to be able to do. And I think I just want to see what my next slide is here. What this does And if I'm jumping ahead, I apologize. I looked at this presentation a few days ago, and I give so many presentations I can forget what we show when and where. But what this does is on the attendance contacts, edit contacts page for all of the phone numbers. Let's find somebody here. Let's find my demo here for dad demo. For my first phone numbers here, ranked 1 and 2. Okay, it'll check the emergency weather related for those phone numbers. So let me actually go back here. Let's just show you again here. There we go. When I click this initialized contacts phone ranked 1 and 2 for emergency weather related, it's going to check up the box for every family, this emergency weather related, for phones ranked 1 and 2. That way you don't have to go through and do each one. You can do each one if you want to. And you might ask why, I'll tell you that in just a moment here. And then when we do the initialize the 1 and 2 for cell phones, if it's a cell phone and it's marked a cell phone, it will come in and it will check the SMS text message there as well. Now, here's a couple of things to note. I'll repeat this again when we talk about sending messages. Then when we first set this up, oh gosh, I don't know, 20 years ago, when I first started JMC, we had emergency weather related, student lunch related, and general school, because schools were like, oh, we want to send out these different messages. But actually, you'll find out, because we only bulk load the emergency weather related, almost every message that somebody sends from the message center is considered emergency weather related. The families don't know this, only you know, but it's basically saying, I'm saying this message to everybody. Parents need to go in and check the general school information, or you would need to manually check that. So most people don't use the general school information. Some parents will sign up for student lunch related because this allows them to receive lunch notices via voicemail instead of email, which is pretty cool. But you might be like, well, this is just a little weird. It's something we might change in the refresh. It's something I'm not super keen on because you just have to know it, that kind of a thing. But in general, because you can initialize emergency weather related phone numbers for all of your phones ranked 1 and 2, when people send out messages, 99% of the time, it's emergency weather related. Even if it's just practice is canceled, we've got a school luncheon tomorrow, it's grandparents' day next week, they'll choose that item. Why? Because you can go in and initialize those items. All right, you might be asking, well, why wouldn't I initialize them, right? Well, there is one reason. If you're a school that's been up and going for a few years, and you started using the message center a few years ago, or 5 or 10 years ago, you've already done this. You've initialized these contact phone numbers, and that's great. What happens over time is families can go online and they can adjust which phones they want to receive text messages on, emergency related, right? They can choose which ones they want, which ones they don't. So sometimes schools will not go in and do this to start every school year, because you might have families that have taken off some of the emergency weather related. Maybe their first phone number here was a work number or whatever. You can decide if you want to as well. So you can initialize them. And if a parent says, oh man, I thought I unchecked this last year, say, well, we initialized them. You go back and uncheck them in your family portal. Many schools will just make it so that when they add a new contact in, they might just come in and check the boxes for somebody. So it's just something to think about. Does it hurt anything by initializing them? No. Might a few parents get bugged because you checked some boxes for them that they'd already unchecked? Maybe. That's up for you to decide. If nobody's clicked these boxes, or you don't know in the last 5 years, I probably would do it. Maybe then send a text message to families and say, we made sure that everybody's receiving messages. Go into the family portal and check and see what phone numbers you want. But if a school was on top of it, when a new family came in and they added a new contact in, they might just check these boxes for a family. So you can decide how you want to go in and manage that. Now, the last thing is, where do we see student cell phone numbers? That's on the view student data screen. And that is right here. You can initialize those. I would initialize the student ones maybe every month or 2 months or 6 months or every year, because the students don't have the option to go and change that online. If a student has a cell phone number in there, you can mass change it here by initializing student cell phones for emergency weather related and student cell phones, which I would absolutely do, because students can keep up to date sometimes more than the families. If you want to do it individually, you go ahead and click on this right here, or control click or command click, and you can check these items here as well. So I would definitely encourage you to do that there. So yeah, that's kind of the wisdom about when we would or not use these. I won't belabor that anymore because I think I've explained that enough. Greg, did you have any thoughts on that, or did I explain that clearly enough?
No, well explained.
Great. All right, now we got customizing long text messages with logos. When sending a lengthy text message in JMC Office, there's no need to worry about your provider breaking it into smaller parts. And I'll say that's what providers will do if we didn't give you this feature. It used to be if you sent a long text message, it might set it out in 4 different parts. But the providers, because they're not required to, they can send it in any order they want, and it can be really confusing to families. So what we did is, I'm starting here, JMC ensures that the complete message is delivered by sending a hyperlink to a web page where recipients can view the entire message along with your school's logo for identification. This ensures seamless delivery and an accurate understanding of your messaging by students, families, and other contexts. Now, we'll talk about this when we talk about sending text messages, but if you send a text message that's longer than something like 115 characters, it's set by the FCC, it turns it into a hyperlink. The problem with hyperlinks is if a family doesn't have a smartphone, they're not going to see it because they can't click on it. My dad, for example, has a flip phone. He can't click on a hyperlink. It doesn't take him out to a web page. So my general rule of thumb is do this in case somebody at your school sends a long text message. But as a rule, I would encourage your staff not to send long text messages. But again, if you're like, Paul, you don't know what you're talking about, we like to send out the hyperlinks. 98% of our folks have smartphones. Great. You can go ahead and do that. To upload your school's logo, log into JMC Office and into File, Administrator Options. Step 1, click on the phone dialer settings right here. Step 2, click the custom logo button here to add your school's logo to the web page here. Step 3, click the select button to select an image. So you'll click on it and you'll click here, select a button to select an image from your computer to use as your custom logo. Fun fact, after clicking the select button, a window will pop up allowing you to navigate to the save file on your computer to select and open. So just like any program, you click select, a pop-up button says, where the heck is that image? This is important though. Make sure you're selecting a JPEG, .jpg, .jpeg, or PNG file. For best results, choose a file that's close to 190 pixels wide, 72 pixels tall, and under 265 KB in size to ensure an optimal fit on the message's web page. Why is this? Because again, they have to be formatted to a cell phone, so it's different than a laptop. So these are just our examples for you. You might need to play with it a little bit there as well, but it's not like just upload it and it appears on your website. There are some limitations to what cell phones can do. So let's take a live look. Actually, I'll just take a quick live look here. It's so darn easy here. So I'm back on, let's go back to my home screen just to orientate you. And you can do all these things at the same time. File, Administrator Options. We're gonna click on phone dialer settings. Here's my item right here. I click on the custom logo button. I click select. This pops up, so I click select. I choose the item there and I click open, and that will put that in there. And then that's all there is to it. It is super easy. Put a logo in there. It's just the reason we put a logo in there as well is that when that hyperlink is set, families are a little hesitant to click on it because, you know, it might be spam. But with the school's logo there, it affirms them, oh, this is coming from the school. The other thing to note is by FCC regulations, all text messages are sent from this number that you have listed there. That's a number that's assigned to you by the FCC. That's the Federal Communications Commission. So when you purchase the message center through JMC, we apply for a phone number for you. And then that's the phone number that's assigned. And then it's verified actually as well by the FCC. I think there's a 2-step verification that JMC does for you. So phone numbers can go out with a caller ID of this. Text messages by law cannot be masked. They can't have an ID, a different ID. So it's going to use this text message that's listed there. And again, that's why we like to put in the logo that's listed there as well. I'll talk about this when we talk about sending messages. I recommend as well, when you send a text message, put in there who you are, because then the recipient knows, oh, this is Mr. Freed. He's the principal. Hey, this is Mr. Freed, the principal of the high school. Why don't you know that 9th grade students, blah, 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 because it's all coming from the same phone number. Why? Because that's what the FCC requires.
And it's 105 characters, Paul.
105. Thank you, Greg.
105. At 106, it turns into a hyperlink.
Great. That is good to know. All right. Take us away with sending messages here.
Creating and sending messages. Send individual emails, text, phone calls, or all of them at once. The Message Center in JMC Office is home to all of your external messaging needs, including the ability to send emails, text messages, or phone calls to a variety of contact groups in your school's site. Choose from a wide variety of contact groups and select students, and or the appropriate contact to receive your message. Then send emails, text messages, phone calls, or a combination with just a few clicks in the JMC Message Center. Log into JMC Office and head to Message Center, send messages to begin sending individual emails, texts, or phone calls. Step 1 is to select a radio button from the select box in the top left to filter which student contacts to send your message to. Then fill out the appropriate fields highlighted below. And you can do it sequentially, that's all student IDs, random to select one or more students by entering their name or student ID in the Find drop-down list. You can do it by grade to enter a grade level range in the From and To drop-down lists and select a gender from the Gender drop-down list. You can do it by advisor. You can do it by course to select one or more courses by entering the course name or teacher name in the available list. You can do it by activity. Select one or more activities by selecting the activity name in the activities box. You can do number, select a bus route number. I know this is a popular one. Paul's used the example. If you have bus number 2, it's a flat tire, you can send a message just to those people on bus route number 2, telling them the students are safe, tires being fixed, we anticipate a half-hour delay or something like that. It's awesome. You can select a random contact, select one or more contacts, entering their name in the Find drop-down list. You can do tags. And a helpful tip to include all community members or members of a specific group. Place a check mark in the Include Community Members checkbox and select the appropriate radio button.
And that's the module we just rolled out. That's separate from the JMC Message Center. It's the JMC Community Messenger. It's an additional 42 cents per student for the 24-25 school year if you want to do that. I don't think I'd sign up for both at the same time if it's new to your school. I might do the Message Center like for maybe first semester and then maybe add in the Community Messenger, but we have lots of great resources on that as well.
Next thing you do is select a message type. You select the email and text, or email, text, and phone radio button from the message type box to identify the type of message you'd like to send. Next step 3, who are you going to send it to? Place a check mark in the appropriate checkbox to identify who should receive your message. Contacts are all primary and secondary contacts. Primary contacts only are primary contacts. Students are students' cell phone numbers. Helpful tip, select both primary contact only and students if you'd like the information to go to both families and students. Next, step 4, click the Send Now or Schedule Time radio button to select when to send your message. Helpful tip, select when you'd like your message to be sent by clicking the Send Now radio button for immediate delivery, or you can schedule a time radio button for future delivery. If you selected Schedule Time to send your message in the future, enter the send date and time in the appropriate fields, or simply click the calendar or clock icon. Double check your recipients. You click the OK button to begin creating your message. Fun fact, after clicking OK, double check your message recipients by clicking the Contact Records Found and Student Records Found numbers. Enter your message. Step 6, depending upon your message type, fill out the appropriate fields below. Email, customize your message by entering the reply to address, CC or BCC email addresses, subject, message, and even attachments using the formatting tools provided in the appropriate fields. Enter your text message or enter multiple message types at once. Text message, enter your message in the text message box and JMC will seamlessly deliver the message to recipients or provide a link to the full message if it exceeds the character limit of 105, ensuring a cohesive and uninterrupted communication experience. Email and text or email, text, and phone, you enter reply to address, subject, and message in the appropriate fields. Send your message. Click the Send button to send your message. You can monitor the status of your outgoing message by heading to Message Center Message Status, which Paul will show you later. And a fun fact, you can click the Reset button to easily create another message.
I could talk for 20 minutes on all the great things about this screen, but I am instead going to just highlight some things that are important here. And you can take this advice to the bank because it's what's going to help you be successful. Number 1, First thing is teachers can send out text messages, emails, and email and text. So encourage them to do that. Text messaging families by as a teacher to say there's a test tomorrow or there's a field trip, bring a bag lunch, super helpful. Number two, the most powerful thing, or one of the most powerful things about the message center is these right here. Greg alluded to it when he said, or he pointed right to it when you can do by route bus number. So a lot of people that come from like School Messenger or these other different things to remind, what happens is you can only send to the entire group or whatever it might be. Here, this is the power. If your 5th period chemistry class had something blow up in there, you can go ahead and put by course and choose chemistry. All right, here is semester 1, period 5 chemistry. We had a problem, something blew up in there, right? Or if we have a problem, if a sport needs to be put into the gymnasium, right? High school baseball and the cheer competition squad, they're going to be inside today because it's raining. The route bus number, like we said before, if you get a flat tire, you come in here, it's gonna have all the bus numbers listed there that you've listed on the view student data screen. Send that information out there as well. It defaults to by grade and includes from KA, your lowest kindergarten group, to adults. Because if you want to come in and send out a message to everybody, that's what we default to right there. So take a moment with your administrative team and sit down and say, all right, when would be some examples we'd use these different items? Paul and Greg at James, he said, the real power and beauty of the message center is not just saying to everybody, which that's great. It's how do we communicate to the right types of people at the right time so people are not getting overwhelmed with messages. You can
Paul,
send
quick
email.
story on
Yeah,
that to show you the
go ahead.
value of that. We sent our 5th graders to the zoo 2 years ago, spring Nebraska day. Storms just blew up like crazy, had people calling in the school. We communicated with those parents to just the 5th graders saying they're leaving Omaha at this time. Rather than going the normal way to avoid the storm path, they're going a different way. We gave them an update all the way, and they so appreciated that. And then it was going to just them. But great example. We just chose that class and kept them updated because the safety of their students is the most important thing.
You're taking a situation that could be a negative and turning to a positive. I tell this story to people all the time. The Minneapolis Public Schools, I don't know, it's like 4 years ago, had a snowstorm. Some kids did not get home until 9:30 or 10 at night because it was such a bad blizzard, and nobody ever got a text or voice message at all. Imagine how stressful that would be to families. It was on the news. The news, like, hey, just so you know, Minneapolis Public Schools buses are late, but they didn't know what was going on. So that's really helpful there as well. All right, email, text is straightforward right there. Phone call, text to voice. It's not. I'm not a huge fan of the phone call, text to voice. I think it's impersonal, but it can be helpful. And so I'm not saying you shouldn't use it. You should be thoughtful about it. We'll talk about sending out a recorded phone call in a little bit here as well. And then email, text, and email, text, and text, and email, text, and phone. You can choose whatever one you want. That's really straightforward. You can do it to primary contacts and or the student. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me whether you send them out to students as well, but if it's a school cancellation or students should know, send it to the student as well. Same with teachers as well. If it's a test or something like that coming up the next day. Send now, schedule time in the future. This is one of the best features here. This schedule time in the future, because lots of times we know if we send a voicemail during the day, families don't pick up the phone right away. Instead of listening to the voice message, they call back. So a lot of people will actually have important messages go out if it's not like timely at 5:30, and the school sends it out because then the parents know there's nobody at the school. So I better answer the phone or listen to the message there as well. Now, you'll see when I chose this here, like a recorded phone call, I can send it to these 3 different ones here: emergency weather related, student lunch related, or general school information. 99.9% of the time, you should be choosing emergency weather related because those are the phone numbers that are checked to receive messages, as we talked about in the previous part of this presentation. So I'm not going to go into that again. If you do a recorded phone call, you can actually listen to them before you send them out, and you can also name them there as well. I highly recommend you've got a soft lockdown and a hard lockdown message recorded, ready to go. So if something happens, you can be ready to send out that message. So then you come in here. I'm going to send that out here. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to have 58 contacts. I can actually click on that here in the office. It's going to tell me all the people who are going to receive that. And then I could click send. Why am I not typing anything in here? Because this is a recorded phone call. If I went to email, text, and phone, where it's going to send out a text to voice, that's what that phone is there. Now it's going to make me put the information here. I'll click OK again. Here is that 58 phone records there, sent 13 text messages, 109 emails. You can do this all day long. You can hit reset here. Okay, I'm gonna reset this, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna reset back to the original. If you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do here, I can come back and say, let's do phone call, text to voice. Okay, if I do that, I click OK, it's always gonna tell me how many records are there. So OK does not send the message. Send sends the message there. So I can type the message in and send that out. And for this particular one, text to voice, it's going to read off that message. So Greg, anything you want to add to that, or did we think we covered it?
No, I think you covered it well.
That's awesome. All right, let's keep on rolling. I do have one more thing. People get nervous to send out messages, Greg. I think I don't know if you do this presentation or not with new schools, but I don't know if I should do it. So what I recommend is go in the first time and send each one of these messages. It's my last thing here. This is probably one of the most helpful things you can do moving forward, and send every type of message here to yourself. Put yourself in, or if you've got a person who works in your office or an administrator, and send an email. Okay, that's great. Send a text message, send a phone call, do every one of these, because if you can send a message successfully to one person, you can send it to 10,000 people. So that's kind of the way to kind of get your used to doing it, so you're not nervous, and then you can go from there. Sometimes people will send out a message if it's their first time saying, "Hey, I'm sending out a test message from the James Message Center. Have any questions? Let me know, and we're excited to see you on school on September 4th or whatever it might be." So really easy to do. All right, almost halfway there. Here we go. Sending phone calls. So I talked about this one already. So I'm not going to go to the live look because I've this particular part here, but we will talk about how we record those phone calls, but not on the office side, unless I feel like I want to show it really quickly. But whether you prefer pre-recorded phone messages or text-to-voice messages, JMC offers both options to suit your needs. When important announcements like school closures or lockdowns arise, rely on the personalized pre-recorded messages feature to keep your school community informed. For a quick and efficient alternative, take advantage of the text to voice call option. Simply type your message and James will convert it into a clear and professional voice message. This eliminates the need for a dedicated recording space, making it a convenient choice for staying in touch. All right. To begin sending your recorded phone call or text to voice messaging log in James Office, go to Message Center to send messages. We've talked about this already, so I'm not going to belabor this. You choose the group that you want to send it to. What are you going to send to by route, bus number, and so on and so forth. This actually shows an updated view of the community members for that community messenger, where you can send it to all members or send it by group there, which is pretty cool. Then you can choose the phone call, text to voice like we talked about, or the recorded phone call listed right here. Who are you going to send it to? Primary contacts and students. Okay, we've talked about this already as well. I would recommend again putting in the emergency weather related, right? Because that's the people that are going to get the message, and you're going to send it now or schedule it in the future. Go ahead and do that there. I'll schedule that time. And then if it's going to be a text to voice, you've got to enter the text in here. And then you're going to do that. And then after you click OK button, you'll double check the message recipients by seeing the message recipients right there. And then you'll click the send button there, and that will send that message there. So this is just a repeat of what we did before. You can always download these slides if you want to, but it's very simple. You should, by sending one type of message, you should be able to send all types of message there as well. So I'm not going to go into that, but I do want to talk about working with recorded phone messages. So I'm going to keep on going because this is what I really like, which is creating the recorded messages. Again, I can't do a live look, but I'll kind of talk you through it as we go. So are you seeking a personal and dependable method to keep families up to date? Record phone messages in your own voice to share crucial information or emergencies such as school closures, delayed openings, and lockdowns. Keep these recorded messages for future reference in the Message Center or Admin Connect app to allow families to receive prompt updates on important information enriched with the personal touch of your voice. So you also can use the Admin Connect app, that's a whole other training, but that also allows you to send out all these options here, voice, text, and email. So it's great to have your Admin Connect app on you, because if your school loses power or phone service or whatever, you can still, if you've got cell service, use your Admin Connect app. All right, so you head to this is really important. I would encourage everybody to make sure that they do what we're talking about here, especially with my tips, and then send this information to anybody who's recording a phone number here as well. And I've got one, well, I'll just tell you right now, I actually learned this from an administrator. An administrator went into his iPhone or his Google phone or whatever, and he put this phone number in here and then saved it, the contact, as the James Message Center, so he doesn't have to look up the phone number. And you'll see why that's helpful in a moment. So You go to File Administrator Options, click on Phone Dialer Settings. We talked about that as well. First, you'll call the Message Center phone number right here, signed to you by JMC to access the voice recording menu and begin recording the custom voice message. Step 2, they'll click the access code on the phone's keypad when prompted to gain access to the voice recognition option. So this administrator had a contact called JMC Message Center. This was the phone number, and then they put this in as like the last name or something like that, so they could see it right there. Now, when you dial, it'll say, welcome to JMC Message Center. Please enter your access code. And you'll enter your access code. What's the access code? It's right here. And then it'll say access confirmed. Then we say, step 3 is press 1 on your phone's keypad to record a new message. Now I'm going to go through all of these different things, but you can kind of play with it again because it'll ask you if you want to send a message, you'll say click confirm. And then I think it asks you again. So you're not going to, you shouldn't accidentally send a message. You're confirming that you're saying a message. So you can go in and play with this a little bit after we're done as well. Just don't hit the 1 to confirm that you're saying a message here. So you'll press 1 on your phone's keypad to recording message. And you can just follow the prompts. If I never did this and you called the number, put the access code, you can do it. But here's what it does. To save time, previously recorded voice messages can be sent by pressing 2 on the phone's keypad when prompted. So say press 2 to send a pre-recorded message. All right. Step 4, press the number key on your phone's keypad to review the messages and access additional options. You're probably not going to do that. Most people call in, press 1 to record a message. So here's what happens. Then it'll say, press 1 on the phone's keypad to determine the recipients to confirm and distribute the message. Number 1, for context related to emergency and weather. You're going to do that 100% of the time if you're doing a phone call. I can't even think of a reason why you would do it just to student context or general store. I guess there might be a reason, but 99.9% of the time you would press 1 there. Then 3 for context related to general school information. If you wish to save the message for future use, press 2 on the keypad. To replay your message, press 3. If you want to re-record your message, press 4. That's a helpful number to know. And to completely cancel your message, press 5. So again, you call in, you put your access code, press 1 in to record a message. Then you press 1 again to send it to all emergency weather related. Head to the Manage Phone Recordings page in JMC Office Message Center to review, delete, and rename saved messages. So I can't call in. So again, it's super easy. You can do it on your own. Call the number, put the access code. 1 to record a message. You record the message. This is Paul. Then you'll say, press 1 to send it to all messages and emergency weather related. You'll press that. And then I believe it asks you to do it again to confirm. But either way, if you're going to do the first one to everybody, I would just send out a test one again. Hey, this is Mrs. Smith. I'm so excited to see you at school this fall. I'm just testing out the message center. This is how I'm going to communicate with you throughout the school year. So really easy to do in the JMC Message Center. And Greg, I don't know if I've ever asked you, did you personally use recorded voice messages?
I used it all the time because as the 7 years at Ewing, I was the lead administrator there. So I did all the canceling school and so forth. So I used it all the time. Always pressed 1 for the emergency weather related. And then I also I always like to hear my message before it went out. So I pressed that message so that I didn't say, sometimes you're calling school off at 5:30 in the morning and you want to make sure that your message is appropriate and says what it wants to say. So I would always preview it first and then I would send it out. But I used it all the time.
Yep, and as we'll show in a minute here, that you can come in here and you can save the message here by pressing 2 instead of saying to everybody, and then you can send it from the Office program, right? So if you save it, when you save it, then when you go into the Message Center to send messages, when you choose that recorded phone call, it's going to be listed right here. If I saved another one, there would be another ID number 3 listed down there for that as well. Okay. So that is that. If you have a question at any time, just type in. We're rolling through it because I said it's a little bit of a longer presentation. So now let's go with working recorded phone messages. There you go. Hit it, Greg.
Efficiently manage your collection of phone recordings by viewing and editing the details of your pre-recorded voice messages in the JMC Office Message Center. This platform makes it easy to maintain your library of recordings, review the content, name them for quick identification, and delete outdated or irrelevant messages with just a few clicks from the Manage Phone Recordings page. To review your recordings, to access your list of recorded messages for review, deletion, or renaming, navigate to Message Center, Manage Phone Recordings in JMC Office. Step 1 is to click the play icon in the recording audio column next to the recording to listen to the content of a recorded message and adjust the playback volume using the speaker icon. Helpful tip, click the 3 vertical dots beside the volume control to download the recording or to adjust the playback speed.
We have that ability. I don't remember that does that. Greg, did you ever do that?
No,
Yeah, you can do it. I just think if the volume wasn't right or the speed wasn't right, I would record it. So yeah, we got some cool tools in there, but I would just make sure it's what you want it to be.
fun fact, the recording date time column displays recording information to help identify old or out of date recordings. To step 2, click the pencil icon next to a recording to edit the name of the recording. Step 3, enter a name in the recording name field to identify the recorded message. Step 4, click the check mark button to save your changes or click the X to discard them. Helpful tip, to delete a recorded message, click the X icon next to the recording. A pop-up message will appear for confirmation. Click the OK button to confirm the deletion or the cancel button to go back to the previous page. Let's take a look, working with recording messages.
Yep. So I always get a little nervous when I go to schools, they don't have any pre-recorded messages. I said what I said in the beginning of this presentation, somebody should own this module at your school, just be the kind of go-to person. And one way that person knows, they know that, hey, you can record your phone messages online. We can save them for later. So when I go down here to manage phone recordings, I can see them right down here. This is a soft lockdown. I can play it. I don't even know if you can tell me if you can hear it here. Can you see? Did you hear that, Greg, or no?
I am not able to hear it, no.
Yeah. It just said, hey, this is Paul Freed. I'm excited to see you at the registration, right? If that was like, hey, this is Paul Freed and we are on a hard lockdown, you could come in, edit this and say, all right, this is a hard lockdown. So let's just show you how I can change it. Or a lockdown test, or let's call that one a lockdown test. And what this means is that you're testing out how the lockdown procedures go, so that when you guys do this at your school, you can send this out. So when I go to send messages, I can go to record a phone call. And here's my lockdown test. I can listen to it before if I want to, and I can send that out. I can click OK. And hopefully I select a message group, emergency weather related. Okay, here's a 58 context and send that out. But I really like the recording of messages, having some set up there just in case, because especially for soft lockdowns, kid throws up in the hall or some, water line breaks, you got it ready to go. And that soft lockdown to say something like, dear parents, we are on a soft lockdown. This means that there's no danger to your students, but for some reason we've decided to keep your students in the classroom, such as a medical event in the hallway or something's been spilled or blah, 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 whatever it might be. We'll let you know when the event is over or something like that. So it's just a great way to make sure that you own the communication that we have listed there. Okay, again, if you've got a question, go ahead and send it in. I think we've gotten good at this presentation, so we're good at answering questions on the fly. All right, viewing messages status. Effortlessly stay connected and control of your school's at-home communication with JMC's message status report in JMC Office. Access the message status report after sending your message to easily monitor their progress and ensure timely delivery. With this report, you can easily track the status of your mass email, voice, and text messages, including those in progress or scheduled for future delivery. To run a message status report in JMC Office, head to Message Center, Message Status. That's right over here. Step 1, select the phone call status, text message status, or email status from the message type dropdown list to indicate the type of report you want to run. Step 2, click the calendar icon and select the day to view a status report for selected message status type on a specific date. Step 3, select a number from the limit dropdown list to view narrow the number of messages displayed in the report. This is new because a lot of times people will be sending out text messages or emails and there'd be like 50 listed there. Be like, I don't want to keep scrolling. There's too many at one time. So that's why we put the limit there. Step 4 is optional. You can click the delete if you want to delete out a message. Step 5, click edit if you want to edit a scheduled message. So this is an important one. If you schedule a message to go out in the future, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I did it for 4:30 a.m., not 4:30 p.m. This is where you would come. You could either delete it, say, I'm just going to delete it out and redo this message, or I can edit this button above the scheduled message and select a new time and date by clicking the scheduled time fields to modify when the message will be sent. So if you're scheduling something to go in the future, this is where it's going to be listed. Then when you send out a voicemail in particular, it works for emails and text as well, but particularly voicemails, the progress bar will display the percentage of contacts that have received a specific message to keep you in the loop on who has received your communications. Monitor the Message Center status report page when sending weather-related or any other timely messages to ensure all stakeholders are connected. This is something that we've talked about putting into the article and the text, but we have not done it yet because it's not hard to explain, but it just takes lots of words. What I mean is when I go to Message Center down here in message status, it's going to show me. Let's see if I've got one actually from last year. I don't know if I've got one in there. Let me just go to. I was doing some trainings. There we go. So this is one that went out here. It only went to 2 messages, but if you were sending a weather-related message, it might go out to 2,000 people here, right? And you're going to see this scroll bar go along here, and people can get confused. So I want to tell you how JMC sends out voice messages. What happens is when you set send, JMC starts to it's either queue up or scroll up the messages and send them to their phone providers. So you'll see messages go out probably within, this is a guess, 2 to 4 minutes. A school of a significant size will see all the parents called typically within 8 to 10 minutes. Smaller schools might be 5 or 6 minutes, even 4 minutes. But let's say I've got a school with thousands and thousands of students. The messages are going to go out in about 8 to 11 messages. We call every family in that 8-minute to 11-minute mark. They're just going out. Then what happens is you're going to have some families who don't answer the phone and don't have voice messages set up, or their voicemail box is full. That means that message has failed. Right? It did not get through. So JMC waits 10 minutes after the last call. So let's say that all your calls took 10 minutes to make the first calls. It waits 10 minutes, okay? And it's then going to call all those families again for a second time. Some families will pick up, some won't. And then it will wait 10 minutes again, and it will send out a third message. We call 3 people, or call every family that has not answered 3 times in about a 30-minute period. And so what happens is sometimes people get confused because this might hover at say 98 or 96% for a half an hour. And people are like, oh my gosh, 4% of our families aren't getting messages. That's not what it's saying. What it's saying is that all the families were called in about a 10-minute period. We waited 10 minutes, called everybody again, and waited 10 minutes, and then you'll see it there. So I want folks to understand that. We've looked at, and I think we've got actually another progress bar here now in the updated JMC Message Center that shows you when the first contacts have all been contacted. I can't remember if it's been released yet or not. But that's that if it's not out yet and you're saying message out, you say, oh, this is why it looks like it's waiting, because it's actually called everybody already. So it's a pretty cool feature. Again, this is where you go if you send a voice message and you want to know how long it's taking for that information to go. My last thing I will tell you is, and you can take this to the bank as well, voice messages are required by law to go out almost immediately by all the phone carriers. If you get a voice message, they've got to pass it on. That is not true for text messages. Phone carriers can legally delay text messages. If you ever sent a text message to a friend and they don't get it for like 2 hours later, that's not an accident. It's not even a glitch. That the phone carrier providers, if they have a heavy load, can legally delay them. So if you want a message to go out now, send a voice message. You can send a voice, text, and email if you want, but make sure to send a voice message because that's what's going to go out. During heavy times when the blizzards roll through the Midwest and schools cancel in Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, text messages will be delayed because the phone carriers, they're businesses too. They can't send out an unlimited number in 10 minutes. They have limitations as well. So make sure to send out a voice message there. And this will tell you again how fast those voice messages are going out. All right. Let's keep on rolling, Greg.
All right, viewing external communication details. Effortlessly stay organized and in control of your communication with JMC's external communication detail log. Access and review call, email, and text messages sent through the office and teacher portals, as well as the Coaches Activities app. With the external communication detail log, you can easily view important details like sender information, sending time, recipients, and message content. Plus, the search feature allows you to quickly locate messages within specific date ranges. Choosing a message type and dates to preview, head to Message Center, External Communication Detail Log. Step 1, select the message type from the drop-down list to view emails, calls, text messages, or all messages. Step 2, enter the from date and to date in the appropriate fields to specify the date range of the logged messages you'd like to view, or click the calendar icon.
Greg, these screen pics are better than what I'm going to show in the live look. So I'm not going to show a live look here. So I'm going to make my comments as we go. This is so you can monitor when somebody complains about a message that's being sent out. So one thing that people don't like about Remind, and Remind's a great product. I'm not ripping on them by any means, but they don't like it that nobody's there to see what a person is sending out. They can just send it out as they want. Most school administrators want to be able to say to their coaches, their staff, if you send out a message and I get a complaint about it, I'm going to go see what that message is. And this is where you can see that message. But here's the thing. You can't go in here and say, hey, I want to see all the messages Greg Appleby sent in the last 6 months. That's not what this report does. What this report does when a family says, I got a text message that was kind of weird from Mr. Smith, the baseball coach. And you say, well, when did you get it? I got it on 4/24 at about 9:30 or whatever. You can look that up here. So you can look up and see the message that is been sent out. That's by far what the most of what this has been done. Or if somebody says like, this teacher sent out too many emails, you can say, all right, what days of the week? It was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. Monday and Tuesday, like, oh yeah, Paul sent out 2 messages here and sent out 2 messages, whatever it might be. But you need to know the date and the time. I mean, you wouldn't need to know the time. You could just have the date. But you're looking to say, what was the message that was sent?
So next, we're going to view the message details. Step 3, you click the preview button to view the selected messages sent in the set date range. Step 4, click the little arrow button symbol next to an entry to view the following expanded details of that communication entry. The user that sent the message, being teacher, coach, etc., and how the user chose the recipient list by activity, class, etc.
So this is saying that this message was sent by Paul to a random student. It's student number 203. And let's see if it goes to the next things here. Yep, keep going.
Yeah, so then you can see the actual text of the message, a list of contacts who were not messaged due to error, and a list of contacts who were messaged, and allows you to print the button if you wanted to print a copy of it.
Yeah, why would I print it? Well, a family's coming in at 3 o'clock to talk about this message, and you don't have to have your computer open. Hey, I see this is the message that was sent. So yeah, I'm not going to take a live look again because you can go in there and check it out. I would definitely look at this and just maybe spend 5 minutes becoming comfortable with it before you have to use it. And then why do you do that? You get through the first few weeks of school, and then you go on a day that some messages were sent out, maybe like, the first day of school, because, teachers are going to send out information and the office people are check it. Just look in here, make yourself familiar. Did you ever use this at all, Greg, or no?
I've looked at it occasionally just to see the message that was sent out. Most of ours were sent by the office, but it's easy to navigate.
Absolutely. Okay. So that's it then, actually. So let me just, actually, there's one more section that I want to show here. And that is actually a couple of things that are not part of like the core training, but things to keep in mind under the Message Center. The first thing is the attendance notification notification settings. This is an awesome feature. Every school should use this. What this does is you come in and to turn it on, and I'll tell you how to turn it on, and then what it does. You just check this box, put an email address in here, and then you can say, I want to send an attendance message to all my kids who are unexcused at 9:30. And what it does, just by doing these things, it will call every family of a student who is absent, excused, unexcused, or both. By far, the most people do unexcused at 9:30 or whatever time you set, and it will read off a message that says, this is a message from the James C. Message Center. Your student, Paul Freed, has been marked absent, period 1. That's all it does. Then you can add in another message right here, additional message. And it will then read off, please call the school office to excuse your child at 507-504-2222. You actually can put dashes in there. You can put whatever you want. I think somebody was just testing this out. You can say, please call Mrs. Johnson, or please call our tenants hotline and leave a message, right? Please email us to let us know what it is. But this saves so much time. I have many office people tell me, even in schools that are smaller with like 400 or 500 kids in elementary. They said this will save them a half hour to 45 minutes a day because they don't have to look up the person's phone number. They don't have to call them. And most importantly, they don't listen to the person chit chat about, oh yeah, my kid's not in school today because they threw up at 10 o'clock at night. Then the dog threw up at midnight. And then grandpa came over, threw up at 5:30 in the morning. Now we got all this thing to clean up and they're just going on and on. All you need to know is like the kid is sick today. So I would say maybe not for the first day of school if you want to wait for attendance just to kind of settle a little bit. After the first week of school, come in here, check this box. You put an email address in here. What does this email address do? It says a daily report is sent to that email address, and you can put a comma and put multiple emails in there if you want to say who was called today, so you have a record who was called. And then you just choose it right here and click save. And so what most people do is they'll say, all right, first period is done at 8:45. Takes me typically a half hour, 45 minutes just to go through it, make sure it's all correct. So I'm gonna send out the message at 9:30. It's an awesome feature that you would use in JMC. Greg, anything you want to add to that? Or
oh yeah, and Paul, that only does that for those students that are absent first period, correct?
actually, that's not quite true. It does it for anybody who's absent up to the time you have listed here.
Okay.
So if you want to go out the first 3 periods of the day, you could actually set this to 11:30 and we call it 11:30. There are some schools, it's not common, who set this to be 3:30. And then if the kid was absent at all that day for any classes, it will call the parent and say they were absent. So, but most schools want to do it in the morning because Iowa is peculiar at this, but I like it. Iowa requires schools by law to call any parent of a kid who's not there in the morning because they had an accident where a kid was actually in their garage waiting on a cold day and some drywall fell on top of them and trapped them. They were not seriously injured, but nobody knew the kid wasn't home. They didn't call, the school didn't call the parents. So it wasn't until later in the day the parents got home. I don't know the rest of the story, but I'm making it up. Got home at 3 o'clock. Kid doesn't get off the bus. Whereas the kid, holy crap, they're under the drywall in the garage, whatever it might be. And so because that they enacted a law that says if a kid is absent, you need to call them. And so that's why we put this in there, but we let all of our states use it. And so that's why, again, you can do whatever time you want. And this is purely my opinion. So do what works best for you. But most schools like to let parents know first period if the kid is gone, just in case there is something not well about that student. And then the other one that we really like is the phone number status. This is a cool report where if a family wants to stop receiving text messages on a phone number, they can text stop and it will stop them from receiving text messages. This is an FCC rule again, that if you don't want to receive text messages, anybody in the United States doesn't want to receive text messages from somebody, they can text stop and it will stop all text messages there. Families will text stop and then 2 weeks later they'll call up and say, why am I not receiving any text messages? Well, this allows you to come in and look and find the families that don't have any text that have texted stop and say, well, that's because on August 18th, 2023, you texted and said you did not want to, that you opted out of receiving text messages there. So it just puts the power in your hands to know why somebody might not be receiving text messages that are listed there as well. If the family wants to receive or the person wants to receive text message again, they have to click start to the phone number. And what's that phone number again? That's the phone number that you have as the number that's sending out. So under administrator options, it's going to be those phone dialer settings. It's either going to be this number. Actually, I'm not exactly sure about this number, or if you've got the phone dialer settings, you're the caller ID, you would put that caller ID number and they have to click start. They have to send the message start back. If you send start, it takes like 24 to 48 hours because that person's phone carrier needs to get that message and approve it before they start sending out text messages there again as well. So those are the things that are not required to run the message center, but can be helpful to run the message center as well. The last thing is I'll go into is a couple things. Coaches and advisors can send it to the Coach Advisor app. Great way to communicate. And teachers, again, I had mentioned this already before, they can go in here to the JMC teacher. And just to show you what it looks like here, under Message Center, it's a little slimmed down. They can choose their course random if they've got an activity or by flex offering, but typically by course is what they're doing. And they can send email, text, or both to parents and students. They can't delay. It goes out right away. It's just a simpler version to make sure that they're communicating effectively. So yeah, we love the Message Center. It's a great feature. If you've watched this video and you're like, man, this is all set up, this is great, I like using it, we do have another great video on here. This is the last thing I'll show you, and I'll see if Greg has anything else he wants to add. If you type in Message Center, I'll see here under our YouTube channel. It's a video we did, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Advanced, a year ago. Oh, advanced usage of the JMC Message Center. I saw it in there. It's right here. Advanced usage of the JMC Message Center there. That advanced usage of the JMC Message Center is a pretty cool video we did with some administrators and other users and JMC users to say, how do you use the Message Center? And that's where we've learned a lot of these tips of how to use it effectively there as well. So, Greg, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just say the Message Center is one of the neatest things that JMC has in its tools, and it's really easy to use. And all it takes is a little bit of playing around with it, and you'll become an expert in using it, and it'll help your school district.
Yep, and remind you what Greg said, is just send it to one person or a couple people right away to get used to it. Once you're comfortable, then start sending those messages out. So we got lots of great things coming up in July. July is a slow month for webinars because lots of folks are off or not wanting to learn things. But we still have webinars. We've got a great one next July 3rd. If you're on vacation, but you have new folks join us, sign up for this one and then get the video sent to you. Onboarding your new staff, how to get the best new office users and teachers up to speed in JMC. That's just a great resource for you. 7/10, July 10th, managing contacts. July 17th, handling students and entering or leaving your school using the proper add, drop, reenter procedures. Every school should 100% know how to add, drop, and reenter students. And then the 4th week of July is our lunch and learn there as well. So if you missed any part of our back to school series, tune into this webinar for a full walkthrough of online registration, from setup to e-signatures and tracking submissions. Ensure everything is good to go for the year for our JMC summer online registration. Want to play in a JMC sandbox? Want to experiment with the grading practices or scheduling without dirtying up your live data? Enter the JMC sandbox, an active replica of your school site where you can safely play with JMC tools. To learn more, dig in this article or email sales@jmcinc.com. Get ready for the Gate Portal. Coming soon, your ticket to streamline event admission with the Gate Portal. Office staff can set up eligibility requirements within JMC, allowing ticket takers to see who's allowed into the event via the Gate app. Before launch, we'd love to partner with a JMC school to make Gate great. Is that you? Please email training@jmcinc.com to be considered. On behalf of myself and Greg Appleby, thanks for your time today, and thank you for choosing JMC.